Seeing Randy and Sandy a minute ago about how we get so set in our ways, and so sometimes it's good to shake things up a little bit. So I'm going to shake things up a little bit. Ready? So just grab your Bible and grab your notes. We're gonna dive right back into our series that we've been looking at about craving. We're going to wrap up this series today, and this is I want to kind of bring this back around. This is kind of come around, hopefully full circle. We're going to come back to where we started with this and really kind of tie this up. We've talked about the definition of craving. Number one on the list is what comes right from the dictionary, that it's a yearning, it's a desire that we have for something. But one of the things we've also discovered from the scripture is that cravings are something that God also implants in our heart. He gives us a craving for things that only He can give us, things that only will be satisfied in our relationship with Him. And we're going to feel very slighted. We're going to feel very disappointed. Things are going to get very frustrating for us if we're trying to satisfy those cravings somewhere else other than what God has given us. Now, you know that this, as we're kind of on the journey going towards something that we had that we're craving, something that we're looking forward to, that sometimes it gets a little, how should we say it, impatient maybe. If you've ever been in the car with kids, you know that you're barely out of the driveway before the "Are we there yet?" questions start. And now, if we're honest, we as adults, maybe we do a better job of kind of zipping our lip and not asking that question, but kind of inside, we're sort of like, how long is this going to take for us to get there? Is there a way that we could speed this up? I wish I had kind of the little Energizer transporter from Star Trek, just beam me, Scotty, right where I need to go. But I think all of us struggle with that impatience at times. Oh man, this is taking so long. When am I going to finally get there? And so one of the things that we talked about, one of the exchanges that will help us in this process is if we begin to understand that we can exchange have to, forget to. When we begin to look at things, instead of saying, I have to do this, when we say, I get to do this because it's setting me up, it's putting me on a path, it's sending me towards a place where I'm going to get to experience the satisfaction of all these cravings, of all these rewards. When we say, we use the analogy of eating the vegetables so that we can get to the dessert. Instead of just simply saying, I have to eat the vegetables because I want to get to the dessert. But when we say, no, you know what, I get to eat these things because they're good for me, and long term it's going to set me up for better health than if I just skipped the vegetables and just ate the dessert all the time. I'm going to have problems down the road. There's going to be health issues that I'm going to have to deal with. So I say I get to have this good food. I get to have this healthy food. Or I get to be on this journey. Instead of saying, when are we going to get there? Are we there yet? How long is this going to take? Then I can say, there's some really pleasant things along the journey that I can enjoy. I don't have to just, when I get there, then I'll finally enjoy myself. But I can enjoy myself as I go through this journey. This is an important, growing, maturing exchange that we get to make toward our cravings, is to change this have to for this get to. And we see this in the life of Jesus, facing the cross, that He said, for the joy set before Him, He endured the cross. For the joy set before Him. Now remember, at the very beginning of His ministry, that the devil tried to short circuit that, tried to cut it short, said, hey, Jesus, listen, why don't you just, make the stones into bread now? Why don't you just jump off this pinnacle, do this amazing thing that gets everybody's attention? Why don't you just bow down and worship me? If you just do those things right now, why go through all of this stuff? Because are you really going to get the reward at the end? Is it really? Are you sure? It's a for sure thing right now. If you just take what I can give you right now. And Jesus said, nope, I'm not going to take those things right now because I know what's coming. And it's going to be the same thing then when Jesus is praying in the Garden of Gethsemane. He says, Father, in my flesh, this isn't what I really desire, but it's not what I desire. It's about your will. And so I know what's coming on the other side. And so for the joy set before him, for the joy of what was going to be there, he endured the cross. But you know what? Earlier in the same verse, here's what it tells us. It speaks to us the same way. It says that we are supposed to look away from anything that will distract us to Jesus. We keep our eyes on Jesus. Sometimes you'll hear people say that in a relationship. They'll say, I only have eyes for you. Jesus said, I only have eyes for my Father, for his glory, for this joy that is coming at the end. And then in that exact same verse, we're called to have our eyes set on Jesus. Only have eyes for Jesus. And Jesus is looking at where we're going, and we keep our eyes on him, and we follow him to get to that spot. We look away, this is out of the Amplified Bible, we look away from everything else that will distract us, and we only have eyes for Jesus. Because when we have our eyes on Jesus, when we see what is so substantial and what is so worth it all, we begin to look at the things around us and realize the things that are here, they're just temporary things. They're things that aren't going to last. That's what John told us, that the world that we have right now, the things that the devil tried to offer to Jesus, that he offered to Adam and Eve, that they took, but Jesus didn't. This world is just passing away, and the lust of it. But he who does the will of God abides forever. And so we can make this exchange for this. Can I get something right now? Sure. Is it pleasant right now? Sure, it might be. But it's not even worthy to be compared to what we're going to get in the future. Now, when our mindset begins to change and our attitude begins to change this way, when we say, I just have eyes for Jesus, and Jesus' eyes are on the joy that is coming, I think that there's three things that this really starts developing in our life. The first thing that starts developing is our maturing self-control. Our self-control begins to mature. Like, let's go back to that example of being in the car. Okay, at first the kids in the car are just, they can't help blurt it out. Are we there yet? When are we going to get there? How long is this going to take? And then maybe after a while, as they mature a little bit, maybe the self-control lasts a little bit longer. They get a little bit farther before they say, are we there yet? Yeah, we've been in the car for a while. Are we there yet? And it hopefully then progresses up to the point where maybe as more mature adults that we say, you know what, we're going to get there when we get there. I can't make it arrive any faster. But in the meantime, I want to enjoy what I'm experiencing along the way. I don't want to be so focused on what's coming that I miss out on some of the blessings, some of the joy, some of the beauty that's around me right now. So when we change that have to, forget to, then I think that our self-control begins to mature. Now notice I said maturing. Not just like, poof, we got it, we're there already. But it's maturing. We're growing in that. And as we grow in that, I think the second thing that helps us with is we begin to have a greater understanding of delayed gratification. What is coming when we delay that gratification? When we hold on to and say, I don't need to have it right now, but I'm going to hold on and wait because there is something better that's coming. And when we experience that, then I think that it helps us in having this joyful expectation. Not only the expectation of the journey that we're going to, or the arrival point, but also along the way, that there's going to be things that we're going to begin to experience along the way. We're going to mature in our self-control. We're going to understand the benefits, the rewards of delayed gratification, and then we're going to have a more joyful expectation. not only of what's coming, but of what I'm going to experience today and the next today and the next today, all the way along the journey. It's going to be little drops, little hints, little foretastes of the ultimate satisfaction that we're going to experience when Jesus satisfies all of those cravings. Now, when I look at these things, this self-control and delayed gratification and a joyful expectation, this makes me think of another exchange that a lot of us probably tend to make in our relationships. Think about in relationships, when you have these three things in your relationship, when you have self-control and delayed gratification, I'm gonna wait to have the very best that God has for him in this relationship and expect that. I think that there's another maturing exchange that we make that goes like this. We trade don't for won't. Let me give you an example this way. In my relationship with Betsy, nobody has to say to me something like, don't speak unkindly to her. Right? They don't have to give me a rule and say, don't speak unkindly with her. But instead, it's my attitude to say, I won't speak unkindly to her because I know what that'll do in the relationship. So I need self-control. I need to understand that delaying that brings a greater gratification later, that there's more of a joy in the relationship being stronger and more satisfying down the road. Nobody has to say to me, hey, Craig, don't flirt with other women. I say, I won't do that because I only have eyes for Betsy. And so I won't put my eyes somewhere else. Why would I want to risk that? Why? And so I develop and mature the self-control and say, hey, the greater gratification and the greater joy is going to be when my eyes stay on Betsy. And that's how that relationship grows. That's how that relationship matures. And so then I can trade don't for won't. See, when we're younger, when we're immature, we need the rules. We need somebody to say to us, okay, don't run across the street without looking. Later on, we mature enough to know, well, I won't do that because that could be very dangerous. But when we just have the rules, when somebody's constantly standing there saying, don't, what is our response usually? Well, why not? Don't tell me what to do. I can figure this thing out on my own. I know what's best. No, you don't know what's best. But it's a maturing process to move from the don't to the won't. To say, okay, you're right. I won't do that because it's going to damage something. It's going to jeopardize something that's coming in the future. I only have eyes for that prize that's at the end. I only want the craving to be fulfilled the way that God says that it's going to be fulfilled, because that's how I'm going to experience satisfaction. And so then there's things that I can say, I won't do those. I won't put my eyes over here. I won't let my heart go over here or over here. I won't do those things because I'm so like Jesus, whose eyes were on the joy set before him, and then our eyes on Jesus, then we see the prize that's coming. In the book of the Song of Solomon, there's a word that shows up a lot in the exchange between the lover and the beloved, the husband and the wife, and that's the word lovely. Both of them say to each other, oh, my spouse is so lovely, my husband is so lovely, my wife is so lovely, everything that you do is lovely, the way that you do that, it's lovely. That word lovely just shows up all the time. I like that word. I like that. That's a great description when we say, I'm going to keep my eyes on that I want most because it's so lovely. I think that's what the Apostle Paul tries to capture for us too in this verse from Philippians. He tells us whatever's true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, praiseworthy, that's where you keep your eyes. That's where you keep your mind. That's where you keep your heart. Not on the things that, well, I got, 4 of those things, so I guess that's good enough. I'll just settle for that. No, not settling for anything. Not settling, but keeping our eyes. keeping our heart and our mind on things that are true and noble and right and pure and lovely. Almost like that husband and wife, those lovers in the Song of Solomon, saying that back and forth to each other. You're so lovely. You're so lovely. That we do the same thing. We keep our eyes on Jesus. Oh, you're so lovely. The things that you have for me, they're wonderful. They're excellent. They're pure. They're beyond anything that I could imagine anywhere else. And they're eternal things. They're not things that are going to just cause me to want to bail out here at the beginning or along the journey. But I'm going to stick with it. David, remember, he's described as a man whose heart was after Jesus, after God. His eyes were on what was lovely. He just wanted, he says, this is the one thing that I desire, the one thing that I want. I just want to be in your presence, and I just want to gaze on your loveliness. I just want to bask in your presence. He said, one day, just one day in your court, it's worth 1,000 anywhere else. There's 2 Psalms. We've touched on them briefly before, where David talks about this trading of the don't for the won't because of the loveliness. In Psalm 37, one of the things, right at the beginning, don't fret because of evil men, or be envious of those who do wrong. For like the grass, they will soon wither, and like green plants, they will soon die away. Don't put your eyes on these people that appear to be getting away with something. Don't do that. Instead, listen to the won't in here. So I'm not going to do that because it would jeopardize this. I want to trust in the Lord and do good. I want to dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. I want to delight myself in the Lord because I know that He will give me the desires of my heart. He alone will satisfy the cravings that I have. Look at Psalm chapter 16. Again, David says this, keep me safe, O God, for it's in you that I take refuge. I'm not taking refuge in other places. It's in you that I take refuge. I said to the Lord, you are my Lord. Apart from you, I have no good thing. My eyes are just on you. As for the saints who are in the land, they are the glorious ones, in whom is my delight. The sorrows of those will increase who run after other gods. Here's the I won't. I won't pour out their libations of blood or take up their names on my lips. Why would I settle for something lesser? I won't do that. Because he says, now, Lord, even now, you have assigned me my portion and my cup. You have made my lot secure. I love this next phrase. The boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance. Now notice the 2 phrases here. My boundary lines right now are in pleasant places. Where I am right now, it's pleasant. But I also have a delightful inheritance, something that's coming down the road. I don't just have to wait. There's something along the way. Verse 7, so I will praise the Lord who counsels me. Even at night, even in these dark times, my heart instructs me. I have set the Lord before me. My eyes are always on the Lord. Because he is at my right hand, I will not be shaken. And then on these last 3 verses, notice how David starts it off with therefore. In conclusion, here's my takeaway because of this. My heart is glad. My tongue rejoices. My body will also rest secure because you will not abandon me to the grave, nor will you let your Holy One see decay. You have made known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand. There's joy now, and there's also these eternal pleasures that are coming too. Jesus, who fixed his eyes on the joy set before him, and then we who turn away from every other distraction and we fix our eyes on Jesus, because he's the only one who's walked the path that can take us to the eternal inheritance that we have. And so we grow in our maturity in that relationship by, first of all, beginning to trade the have to for the get to, but then trading the don't for the won't. No longer do I have to be given a constant list of rules because I've begun to appreciate how much more there is for me when I get there. I like C.S. Lewis told us this. I think sometimes we find some very pleasant places along life's journey. I think God brings pleasant people into our lives at times, and we say, boy, this is great, this relationship with them. I'd never want to lose this. But C.S. Lewis said this: our Father refreshes us on the journey with some pleasant ends, but will not encourage us to mistake them for home. There's some things that are pleasant along the way, and even those pleasant things are not even worthy to be compared with the joy that is coming. But sometimes there's some not so pleasant things along the way. The Apostle Paul addressed that. But what of that? For I consider that the sufferings of this present time, this present life, are not worth being compared with the glory that is about to be revealed to us and in us and for us and conferred on us. Whether there's joys or pain now, it's not even worthy to be compared with what's coming in the future. And that's why we have to keep our eyes on Jesus. I'd like you to watch the screen for him.
Okay, sit in that chair. All right, here's the deal. Marshmallow for you. You can either wait, and I'll give you another one if you wait, or you can eat it now. When I come back, I'll give you another one, so then you'll have two. But stay in here and stay in the chair till I come back, okay? All right. I'm gonna go do something and then I'll come back.
It smells yummy. It smells really good.
All right, so it's up to you. You can have it now or you can wait. Okay? I'll be back. Stay in the chair, okay? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna leave and then I'll come back, okay? So you can either eat it right now or you can wait. Either way, okay? Okay. How'd you do? Did you do good? You did?
Yeah.
You wanted to eat it, didn't you? Yeah. So did I tell you to give you another one? Okay, now you can have both. You need them.
This marshmallow test is actually a pretty famous test that was done by psychologists that they tested kids like this. If you wait, we'll give you 2 marshmallows later. And they followed those kids well into their school years and found that those kids that would have that self-control and that delayed gratification, waiting for the reward to come, that they were the ones that made far riskier decisions later on in life. They did better in school because of their willingness to wait. just like Jesus, who said, I can look to the cross and look beyond to see the joy that's coming. And so we keep our eyes on Jesus as well, because he's the only one that can lead us there. Now, I know I didn't see anybody eat your marshmallow when it came around. Good for you. But we're going to give you a one-time offer. If you did eat it, we'll give you one more. But here's what you can do. I'd like you to keep this marshmallow in your house somewhere where you'll see it. It will over time. It's going to kind of petrify. It'll become hard. It's not going to mold or anything. But let this be a visual reminder for you that when you're like, how long is this going to take? Maybe I should just have a nibble now. That what is coming, the rewards that are coming, are more than worth the wait. They are so far beyond. Even if you were to gobble up the marshmallow right now, it's gone immediately. There is more than you can ever possibly imagine. And that's the reason why God places the craving inside of us that he does, that can only be satisfied in him. And so we're going to have to remind ourselves, hey, I want to trade this don't for the won't. Not don't eat this marshmallow, don't grab these little things right now, but I won't grab these little things right now. I won't settle for something right now that's going to be gone just like this, because I'm holding out for this eternal reward that is beyond compare. One of the great examples that Jesus gave us was when he celebrated his Last Supper, what we now call communion, because he said this: every time that you do this, you remember. You keep it fresh in your mind. You recall once again that for the joy set before me, Jesus was saying to his friends, for the joy set before me, I'm going to go through this. And now I want you to keep your eyes on me. I want you to remember every time that you partake of this broken bread, you remember what I did for you. Every time that you drink this cup, remember what I did for you. And then remember what I have purchased for you as well. And that's where you keep your eyes.